Hello, I'm Nick, and welcome to GEOX, Global Intelligence Node. Here, we break down the world's most important geopolitical and military developments with clear, in-depth analysis. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Let's begin. Over the past 24 hours, Russia launched what Ukrainian officials describe as the largest combined missile and drone strike of the war. Ukraine's government is urgently appealing to the European Union and NATO for additional military assistance. Meanwhile, Russian forces continue advancing toward Kostiantynivka and the Ryalexandrivka area near Kramatorsk. At the same time, Ukrainian troops managed to recapture Kozacha Lopa near Kharkov. And finally, Russia's gasoline crisis continues to unfold according to the familiar laws of bureaucratic paralysis and sheer absurdity. Quite possibly, it will soon begin producing broader social and political consequences. These and other developments are ahead. Over the past 24 hours, the Russian military carried out what Ukrainian Air Force spokesman General Ignat described as the most powerful strike against Ukraine since the beginning of the war. A record number of ballistic missiles were launched. It became one of the largest attacks on Kyiv since the full-scale invasion began. According to Ukrainian officials, Russia fired 28 ballistic missiles. Only Patriot air defense systems are capable of intercepting weapons of this type. This time, however, the interception effort proved largely unsuccessful. As a result, Ukraine is urgently appealing to NATO and the European Union for additional support. Ukraine's Ministry of Defense released an emergency statement. REPRTNG that nearly 500 attack drones and 77 missiles were launched against the country. 25 of those strikes reportedly hit Kyiv. The ministry stated directly that Ukraine currently lacks the capability to defend itself against ballistic missiles. Officials linked the vulnerability of the capital to a critical shortage of interceptor missiles for Patriot systems. Ukraine is now calling on its allies to provide additional interceptors, arguing that European stockpiles still contain missiles that could be transferred. The real question, however, is who would be willing to give them up while Russia continues, warning that Europe itself could become a future target. Everyone wants to keep that capability for themselves. There were fatalities, but the larger issue is that the strike itself proved exceptionally effective. According to available reports, warehouses, industrial facilities, and production sites were destroyed, including a facility involved in manufacturing Flamingo missiles. Numerous explosions were also reported at other locations. The Ukrainian military used civilian facilities to store military equipment and weapons, disguising them as civilian infrastructure, which is comparable to the tactics of the Viet Cong. It seems that some people in the military leadership of Ukraine may have mastered these methods long ago. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to explain why Ukrainian troops have repeatedly deployed rocket launchers directly in residential areas. Artillery positions are hidden inside civilian buildings. The same approach is allegedly used in civilian enterprises, including world-famous facilities such as the Dovzhenko Film Studio, which, according to the author, were used as warehouses and assembly shops for military purposes. Naturally, these facilities become the targets of missile attacks. This corresponds to the propaganda model of the Vietnam War, which allows widespread use of accusations against the Russian military after such strikes. Hamas uses similar tactics, and the Ukrainian government behaves in much the same way. The situation on the front remains extremely unfavorable for Ukraine. Russian forces continue offensive. Operations in sectors where they have already achieved success, while new reports of further advances continue to emerge. According to Russian telegram channels, the final clearing operation in Kostiantynivka is nearing completion, and they claim an official announcement about the city's capture could come soon. I remain skeptical of those claims. In modern warfare, controlling a city is very different from what it was during World War II. You cannot permanently station soldiers inside every building or every apartment. Areas declared cleared are often reoccupied once Russian troops move forward. Across this broad combat zone, control remains fluid and constantly changes hands. Even so, it must be acknowledged that the Russian assault on Kostiantynivka appears to have been considerably more successful than the offensives against Mirnohad and Pokrovsky. Once the city is fully secured, at least from the current tactical perspective, Russian forces will almost certainly continue toward Druzhkivka and then Kramatorsk. In fact, that advance is already underway. Meanwhile, on what may become the decisive axis of the entire Sloviansk-Kramatorsk campaign, near Ryolexandrivka, fresh reports indicate additional Russian gains. Russian sources claim their forces have advanced deep into the bend of the Seversky, Donetsk River, capturing dominant chalk highlands overlooking the surrounding area. According to those reports, Russian troops are close to securing the commanding heights overlooking Lyman, Sloviansk, and Kramatorsk. Once drone units establish positions on those elevations, they are expected to begin their preferred strategy, isolating the battlefield from logistical support sooner or later, probably later. Considering the size of Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, that could eventually lead to the fall of those cities. The situation in Kostiantynivka already demonstrates one simple reality. Without reliable supply lines, even highly motivated troops cannot hold an urban defense indefinitely. There are also new reports today of Russian advances near Kupiansk. Russian military channels are openly celebrating what they describe as significant progress. According to those reports, the Russian West group has captured nearly the entire Ukrainian bridgehead on the eastern bank of the Oskol River. They also claim control over Kacherivka, Podil, Kirilivka, the local foundry, and report heavy Ukrainian losses around Kupiansk-Vazlovyi as Kyiv attempts to hold the bridgehead. Russian sources now argue that a Ukrainian withdrawal to the western bank of the Oskol, naturally better suited for defense, has become almost inevitable. They claim Ukrainian forces remaining east of the river are now confined mainly to a narrow strip along the shoreline. At the same time, Ukrainian commander General Dropachy continues trying to change the course of the fighting by launching counterattacks around Kupiansk. However, according to the author, Commander-in-Chief Sirsky previously transferred many of his available reinforcements from the Kupiansk sector to the Sumy and Kharkov directions. As a result, Dropachy allegedly lacks sufficient forces to defend either Kupiansk-Vazlovyi or Kupiansk itself. If nothing changes, the entire eastern bank of the Oskol could soon be lost. After that, fighting may once again return to Kupiansk, where Russian forces have reportedly resumed attacks from the north.